Good evening and welcome. Welcome to Agent Paranormal. I'm your host, Rich. In the studio, co-hosting with me is my good friend. I can't even talk to. Let me get another drink of water here. My good friend Pete, and of course, the co-hosting and engineering behind all the controls is Kevin. Welcome to another exciting episode. We're happy you're here. So, guys, fall is finally setting in. My favorite season.
'Tis the season.
It is. It's there, man. I came back from St. Lawrence County, and the trees are all turning up there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's nice. We're gonna do a couple special October episodes, I think, to talk about the paranormal, but a couple other interesting subjects that we were discussing through a text message stream earlier today, right, Peter?
Are we gonna have a pumpkin spice episode?
Okay. So you all know, pumpkin spice is an addiction for me, and I'll get the pumpkin apple cider donuts, and I'll go to Dunkin' Donuts and get the pumpkin spice coffee. I don't care what anyone says. It's good. And I even buy the pumpkin spice International Delight creamers for my coffee at home. That's how addicted I am to that stuff. So it needs to go away in a couple months, or else I'm going to become a diabetic, because that's all I will consume.
No,
So,
the International Delight has sugar-free. Maeve found it.
yeah, but have you tasted that?
Yep.
Disgusting.
No, I liked it.
It's disgusting.
Nah.
Anything sugar.
Well, I mean, that's because you only do high test. So
Is that a fireman thing, the high test? Those are the only people I ever that refer to regular coffee
yeah,
as high test.
High test
or
is,
unleaded.
high fuel.
That's old school coffee. Old school coffee. So listen, tonight we decided we were going to take a little spin away from the ghost stuff a little bit, and go back to the UFO. We had an episode a long time ago where we talked a little bit about aliens and UFOs, and it's such a subject that has so many people following. It's so popular, and becoming even more popular. So, Agent Paranormal wants to be part of that, and we have our own stories to tell. So, and of course, our stories are more compliant with the area that we live here. So, we decided Peter was going to tell us all about UFOs and Griffiths Air Base, any type of connections, and everything going on here in our backyards. Isn't that right, Peter?
I guess we can do that.
I guess we can.
Do that. Oh my God, am I that tanned where you can see the light in white?
A little bit of a farmer's tan,
Lord,
dude.
I must have stepped into a nuclear reactor.
Could be.
Warning. Everything that you're about to listen to is fiction. This is a story. This is entertainment. It may or may not be true, so don't sue.
It's true. It's all true.
So I think before we go into the Griffiths, if you'll indulge me, we surpassed a very important day yesterday, very solemn day, 20 years since September 11th. I don't think we should overlook that.
Nope.
And I've done so many of these shows. We've done so many lectures. I don't know if I've ever shared my 9/11 ghost story with people. Did I ever share that with you? What happened at the college? A college?
So.
You know what? I've heard it, but for our viewers and for Kevin.
So if you'll indulge me,
Please
just
share.
quickly.
You are indulged.
Okay, so when you
Indulge away.
when you do public events, there's a lot more entertainment involved. When you're being paid to be somewhere, you do things differently than if you're doing it for, I don't want to say doing it for real. That doesn't sound good, but the public has a very short attention span. Let's leave it at that. They have a short attention span. People who are into it will sit there with you for the 14 hours in darkness and not go to the bathroom and just sit there waiting for something. So long story short, so we were someplace. We gave a lecture, and they had a September 11th memorial on this place, and that memorial did contain artifacts. So we tried to dissuade the people from picking that as a location to do the investigation at after the lecture. So long story short, we went there to do a quick investigation. And, we try to tell them about the solemnness of it. The artifact may contain a lot of energy. You have to treat things like this as a cemetery, basically. You have to respect what's going on. And they were very respectful. But this is the one time we did a public thing where people were actually real investigators. Like, I mean, Rich and Kevin, they know you laugh. When you tell people throw a question out, they all look at each other and they're like, do you like Skittles? You know, like the stupidest thing. I'm sorry, but people ask the stupidest, do you know your dad? So right off the bat, this kid comes right out of the chute and he's like, what floor did this relic come from? And before I could catch my composure, it came right over the spirit box. It's clear as day, 27. And I'm like, oh, no. This is going to go very bad very quickly. And it did. So the kid followed up immediately. So you could tell he was a paranormal TV enthusiast because he went right in for the...
Yeah, man. There's a lot of those out there.
So he's like, what was your occupation? Fire. I'm like, oh, that sent a chill right up my... So you know what the third question that came out was? What is your name? And a name came out. The beauty about that, half the people heard something, but they didn't know what the name was. I was close enough to the box. I heard the first and last name, and so did a few people, but they weren't really sure what they heard. My cousin didn't hear the name, who was standing at the back of the crowd. So we pretty much shut the whole thing down there. So we got back to the hotel room after the event. We were talking. He's like, did a name really come through? I'm like, name came through. There was a name. We played the tape back, and there it was on the tape. The three things we thought we heard were on the tape. So he's over there on Google. And make sure you use Google, because I learned the other day if you use Goggle, that's actually something you need to be 21 and over for. Well played. Well played. And that name was on the list of 343 firemen.
Man.
I will never say where the location was. And we deleted that clip that night because I refused to play that for anyone. But that's my own personal September 11th. And it saddens me to think that there's something attached to a piece of steel somewhere. Oh.
It just goes to show you, man, when long time ago when we talked with John Zaffis and he opened our world to the ability of objects to contain energy and things to attach to them that he's got in his museum. And I thought at first the concept was a little bit like, all right, I'm open to it, but not really sure I could see like a spirit going to a doll and attaching to it. But after seeing this, hearing the stories and seeing cases and doing research, and then having some of our own experiences in our own cases, it just still to this day, even though I know it happened, still gives me chills, especially when a name comes across there that you can check online and that person, first and last, is listed as one of the people that's deceased from that tragedy. And that's just, it's a scary thing. And that's that kind of stuff in the paranormal. You keep quiet. You tell the story, but you never really truly reveal the data that you got out of respect. You know what I'm saying? It's still a field full of respect, at least in our world it is, and how we do things.
Yeah.
So,
My biggest worry with that, and this, I guess you could say this is where I have respect for seasoned groups versus ghost hunters. To throw that name out there, the family's going to rush to that site.
Yeah.
And my fear is someone's going to do something very stupid at that site to be with their loved one. And that's why I'm like, we heard it. It's one of those stories I can tell you, whether you believe it or not. I was there, but that's why we destroyed that. And I know that's probably a horrible thing to do, but...
No, it's not a horrible thing.
In the big picture, you have to look at the well-being of the family. And, you're talking 10, 12 years later, those wounds will never heal, but they've gotten on with it a little.
Gotcha.
But
We got some action going on in our comment thread. You have our friend Aaron talking about your
hi, Aaron.
haunted artifacts, and he said, got a ceremony for that.
I hope so. we may need one of those ceremonies for that.
Aaron, I'm dying to go to the buffet up at the casino up there. Are they open yet?
I don't know about the buffets.
I would love to investigate with those guys. They're funny as hell. Funny as hell.
Yeah, that'd be truly interesting.
Aaron, do you guys have a ceremony for UFOs?
Come on, Aaron. Come on.
Anytime,
Type-
Aaron.
Come
type
on.
question.
Okay.
Come on.
Any minute.
So let me go off on.
Hopefully he's not on T-Mobile.
Let me go off on tangent rant 1, so then I can bring all the Griffith stuff, because I know when we do all this stuff, we always do it antiseptic. We keep everybody just on the edge of the basics, and maybe
Right.
a little over. I'm taking you right over the cliff today.
Okay, we're ready,
I
man.
totally forgot the box of tinfoil. I was going to go full tinfoil hat for you. What I'm about to tell you, like I said, we're in entertainment here. I don't want anybody getting deplatformed or pooped on. I hate the phrase conspiracy theorist. I'm dealing with that first. That term was created by the CIA to label people who would not accept the Kennedy assassination information, basically, and they use that as a mechanism to shoot anything down. Most conspiracy theorists, as they're labeled,
What was that?
I don't know, what was that? Was that an... See, they're watching you. They're watching you. That was the CIA.
I hope there's not an Alexa in here someplace.
Got a strange tingle. Conspiracy theorists spend a lot of time doing research. They spend a lot of money doing research. They dedicate a large portion of their life to the topic they're engaged studying.
Right.
So when you come up to someone and you ask their opinions, and they tell you this stuff, they've spent that amount of time, money, energy, and you just blink your eyes and say, I don't believe any of it, that's conspiracy crap. You have zero invested in it, no time, no money, no effort, no care. You're shutting down someone who actually, if you brought them into a court of law, could probably lay out a case that would make you go, oh, I didn't know any of that. That's because you don't research it. I hate when I hear that word, especially with what's going on in the world today. It's a mechanism people are using to just shut you down. Here's the thing. The truth is the truth is the truth. It always has, was, and will be. It has never not been, and it'll never not be. It's always the truth. It may not be your truth, but it's the truth. Understand that. So if something doesn't match what you feel, if it's the truth, it's the truth.
There you have it.
I've spent a great deal. You know how much time I spend on the iPad. I wore the damn thing out. I still have the Generation 1 iPad with duct tape on it and things. Even the iPad's like, just let me die. Just let me die. And every night I'm like,
Pete spent a lot of time on the YouTube.
Well, I fit the definition of theorist.
Well, technically, we all do. In researching the paranormal, I mean, that's just the same thing.
Yes.
You know, we've all got many years' experience in research and investigating, and we still go to events and lectures and stuff, and we still get people that come up to us and say, yeah, I don't believe any of this.
Exactly.
There you go.
And if
Okay,
you're one
whatever.
of them people, shut up.
We have
Go
a word
find
for you.
something
You
else
are
to
a
do.
skeptic.
I'm pretty sure when we do a lecture, at least the ones that I'm involved in, I usually poll the audience before we get going. I ask people how many, but I don't say, are you a skeptic? I go like, how many people don't believe in any of this stuff? How many people are kind of like, I want to believe, show me where I can believe. Show me the proof so that will flip me over the edge. And then some people are like, I'm just a believer. You had me at hello. You know, so that's kind of where I want to know. And of all the three groups, I try to work on the ones that don't believe in any of it. Those are the ones I try to focus my energy and my discussion towards them, because I want them to understand. I'm not saying I want them to walk out of that room and be like, Rich, you changed my life, I believe. No. I want them to basically, it's called critical thinking. I want them to open their mind, think outside of their box, and maybe they'll do what Pete does. They'll go back, get on YouTube, or whatever, Google away, research stuff, and try to say, okay, this is what this guy Rich said.
Mm-hmm.
And then go try to find something that correlates to that, So that makes you, if you're a skeptic and you do that, that pretty much labels me as a theorist or a potential investigator. Because as an investigator, you can't just, you take the facts as they're presented to you, you take it as the story. Now you have to go back and search your own facts. You have to okay, well, this is a fact. She saw this. Here's the recording of the video. That's a fact. That happened. Okay. Now we have to basically find out, okay, is that a fact for us in our world? Is that truly something paranormal that was caught on the thing? Then if we catch that and we, as a group, have a consensus and we believe, yep, can't explain it. This 82-year-old woman doesn't know how to use Photoshop, so it is what she captured, So, I mean, that's kind of what I like about the thing. But I agree with Pete. When people throw these things at me, the only time I say no or shut them down, like someone was telling me something about, it was a political conspiracy. And they're saying, well, such and such, eats children. And I'm like, I'm listening to it, okay. And then essentially I'm like, I'm watching TV right now and that person is like on television right now. They're not down in Mexico, contained at the border. So sometimes those things I will sort of like listen and shut down. But most of the time when I hear stuff, you gotta listen to it, because what you're always told on the media isn't exactly the truth. Because the president is always, like, for politics, the president's just a temporary employee. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly how the Central Intelligence Agency, National Security, that's how they treat him, as a temporary employee. He doesn't walk in and say, I'm your boss, you're doing this. No, he's just a temp. So everything that the powers that be present to you, and everything that really goes on, you got to believe it's got to be different. You know what I mean? Do you agree with Peter, or am I going off on a tangent here?
Beautiful, because you segued right in. And people are out there like, what the hell does any of this have to do with UFOs and Griffiths? I'm going to give you the history of Griffiths in less than 3 minutes. We have to bring you down this rabbit hole so you believe the second part of what's coming. Because until you grasp what we're about to say, you can't go to there. So your little conspiracy that you're labeled, this little piece here, it's a piece of the puzzle. It may never fit into anything we do, but it may help you think outside the box. It makes you think, okay, maybe they're not eating little children, but every story usually has a piece of truth in it. So what the hell is the truth
Right.
that's in this one little clue here? Again, nobody really, I hope nobody believes that. I'm sure people do believe it, but you have to take that as a piece of evidence. You're a researcher. You're investigating everything you're told. I wrote the book, Images of America, Griffiths Air Force Base. I'm going to tell you some of the crap people tell. I shouldn't say crap. That wasn't the word. Some of the stuff people tell. And it's very relevant to our show today, but I couldn't put any of it in the book because they can't prove it and I can't prove it. However, they say they were there. I can't dismiss that you were there. So going back to Rich's question, I totally forgot. You were asking me about the...
Was it the government with...
The temporary employee, yes.
There you go.
There you go. I was counting in my head. One Mississippi.
I knew. I was like, what the hell was he talking about? I'm like, what is it?
He can get there.
So a few years ago, Rich invites me and the missus, and I think your missus went. He brought us and introduced us to Stanton Frieden, world's greatest ufologist. This is the. I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna be. Who's he gonna bring a piece of the Roswell crash with him? Has he got an alien in the suitcase? The best part of the night turned out to be that kid who was walking down the stairs, fell, and we thought he broke his neck, and my wife started laughing hysterically for like 40 minutes.
That poor kid. I'm like, oh my God, I hope he's okay. Candy's laughing.
Like he landed on his neck. Like
he has no idea that years later he'd be in a podcast talking about
God,
I hope he lived.
I felt so bad. I was like, please be all right. Please be all right. And he got up, and I'm like, oh, thank God. Yeah, that would have shut everything right down, and I felt bad. I mean, you don't want to see anybody get hurt. I mean, especially like a head injury or neck injury, man.
But here's the godfather of the UFOs. Slide. They lied to you. This is Colonel so-and-so. He lied to you. This is General so-and-so. He lied to you. And this went on for like 40 minutes. He's like, They all lie to you. But see, I didn't realize till a couple weeks ago that was a seed he planted, and it finally took. It grew. It finally popped in there. He's right. We've been lied to since birth by everyone about everything. Your parents lied to you. Your grandparents lied to you. Not that they did it on purpose. It's just that's how it's been designed. And once you wake up to that, oh my God, I feel like I'm in the Matrix now. It's like, everybody's lying to me. So what is the truth? What is the truth? So now you start looking. So now you have to start going a little bit into that realm, that dark realm of conspiracy, like,
Right.
to get those stories. But one thing he said in that presentation, and he made mention of that, he's like, nobody's in control. He's like, these people run for office and they tell you whatever you want to hear. They do all this. He said, as soon as they get in, they get visited by a few men in suits carrying a very weird suitcase, and they're told what they're going to do, and there's no deviation from that. So who the hell are the people in the suits? What's in the suitcase?
You know, the one thing about that Stanton Freeman presentation is the guy is he's very he's got a good energy about him. He's very charming. I mean, when he's talking, you can tell he's very he's knowledgeable, and he's done it a long time because he didn't miss a beat in his presentation. The only thing I was hoping for, I didn't see, was a smoking gun. I was waiting for the proof. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you proof of UFOs. Voila. And the only thing that came relatively close to that is he said he had documents to show that UFOs exist and our government knew about it and everything else. And then he went to show them, and it was all blacked out. I was like, "You're kidding me!" I'm like almost on the edge of my seat. Here it is. Here it comes. Here it is. I'm gonna see it finally. You know, I can finally tell everybody, "I told you so." And it's like, it's just a doc. I mean, I could have made that document and just took a Sharpie and just. I think I'm going to do the next presentation. Say, here's the ultimate proof that Satan exists, and it's just going to be a document. Satan exists by, and it's going to be all blacked out with a Sharpie. That was the only thing, Pete.
I worked on a secret rocket projection thing. You want to see a picture of it? It was a blank screen. It's like, you don't have the clearance to see that.
It's secret. I told you that.
Well, I didn't get to finish it. When I got it to the point where it was almost feasible, another group of people came in and took the project. I mean...
Yeah. It just, there was no smoking gun. I was just very, very disappointed. I was waiting. I was just waiting. After watching 5 seasons of Finding Bigfoot and Finding Bigfoot, I thought, okay, it's going to be different this time. Stan Freeman's going to show me there's UFOs. But that didn't happen either, so... I regress. Go ahead.
No. That was a great presentation. I mean... But that's why we don't do UFO stuff publicly too often, because if you start asking any of the real UFO researchers, they do get visited. People do start watching them. People start showing up. And I believe one of our guests on a former show had made mention of that she gets followed or they've made contact.
So I guess we should move into...
All we need is a kid falling down the stairs breaking his neck. You laughing yet, Candy? Excuse us while we experience technical difficulties. But you can't hear that because there's no volume.
No, that was just only during the slide.
That was Kevin. Okay. He muted our sound.
All right, so Pete.
We were talking about you, but you will never know. It's only a theory.
All right, Pete.
It's all in your mind.
We're ready.
Okay.
Kevin and I are prepared. The audience is prepared. Take us down the rabbit hole, my friend.
Kevin, do you believe in aliens?
What kind of aliens?
Extraterrestrials.
Extraterrestrials. Yes, I believe in extraterrestrials.
Rich, do you believe in aliens from outer gook?
Why not? I'm open to everything.
Yeah, I'm of the mind that we can't be the only ones in this so vast universe. I'm not even sure that we're the only ones in this galaxy. So
I agree with him. Well said. I mean, and a lot of scientists say that. They're like, how can we be so like so into ourselves or our ego that we think we're the only beings that can and we're the smartest beings in an infinite universe. It's just ridiculous. Why? I mean,
right
ridiculous.
now there is an alien in a far off planet that is actually getting this podcast, just popping like little popcorn animals in his mouth. He's like, listen to this. They need to find proof that we exist.
If Valiant Thor is listening, Valiant Thor, if you're listening, we have a chair for you.
I don't have a shot of an empty chair.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Pete. Let's go down the rabbit hole.
So you believe. Trust the science. Guess what? There's an equation out there for it. It's called the Drake equation. You put all these numbers together and it tells you how many planets are out there versus the possibility of people being out there. Billions. We don't need that. You know why? Because you've been lied to. We are the original aliens.
Oh, that's deep.
What if I were to tell you that? We are the original aliens. So here's part of the metaphysical training. Humans have been lied to since the time of Noah. Didn't know that, did you? There's a god of earth called Yalbadayo. Yalbadayo is satanic in nature. The split became very prominent when he was ready to wipe the world out and begin over. And he approached Noah and his family and said that I will make you the kings of earth. All you have to do is worship me. That was in direct contradiction to Adam and Adam's sons, who knew the truth that Yalbadayo was not the god of everything. He was just the god of earth. Adam knew that something was much higher, much more profound. That's your capital G God. That's your universe, your great architect. I always like the great architect one.
Just like in the Matrix.
So everything that's been going on has been a lie since the flood. That knowledge, which they call the original sin, has been taken away from you. We were created in God's image. We are the only group of people that were created in God's image. There have been multiple sets of different species incarnations that we call aliens, some of which hate us because we are the only ones copied in the image of the great architect. So you can contemplate that one. That's something you're not going to hear. Religions crush that immediately. And right now they're already probably preparing a cross and calling me Satan and I'm possessed and need an exorcism. This is one of the theories out there in the metaphysical realm. Things have been going on beyond Earth, interdimensionally, and all around you that you don't know yet. So you guys know I've gone crazy basically in the past years. I'm starting to ask for things in the 5th and 6th dimension because that's the realm where there's aliens. Alien life forms.
Just want to jump in quick. You got one of our comments in the thread. Somebody wrote in the great architect that popped up as soon as you said the great architect.
I love it.
Jason, we're on to you. We know who you are.
It's that ESPN.
Watch it every morning.
So again, you're saying, what does this have to do with Griffiths and aliens? What does this? You have to understand they're real. You can't use the word UFO. UFO is a nothing word. It's an absolutely meaningless term. It means unidentified flying object. You could go outside and see a Frisbee, and it's an unidentified flying object. This has nothing to do with aliens.
And they never meant it to be that. But I think it became a mainstream term, and it got placed for everything UFO is a flying saucer, and it's an alien that came from another universe, another planet. However, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and there was one person, and I can't remember the podcast, but they're talking about that aliens don't come from outer space. They don't come in a flying saucer built of metal and travel across the universe. They actually come from inner dimension, and they actually basically come from a different dimension, and they're over here, and many times they're not even like they're not even actual physical property. They're just like matter, like interdimensional matter. I mean, and that's what he said. That's how, this particular speaker. I'll have to look this up sometime. He said that's what they've been following. They're not a little spaceship that opens up and a little man says, "Hi, take me to your leader." It's actually something that comes out of another dimension. And I mean, you could fire a rocket ship at it; it just goes right through it because it's not solid. It's something traveling. So, anywho,
I'm glad you brought that up because that was something else I was going to bring out to you, that they're all lying to you. You see all the footage that's been released in the past year from the Navy, the Army, all these. It's all deep fake technology. Those aren't real photos.
well, why would they do that though? That's always my question for any of this theories or whatever is, what is the intent? What is the goal?
To deceive you.
Okay.
At one point, religion had a very vast stronghold on society. So that's how they could always, there can't be aliens, it's contrary to God. We're the only people. And that's going to be the last barrier. Once that gets broken down, things will start. But see, we're starting to smarten up as a society now. It's like, oh, there's no UFOs. And people are like, bullshit. So now, okay, we got to give them some photos. Maybe they'll believe the photo. Maybe they'll believe they exist. I'm not saying they've never not existed. They've known since the atomic bomb that aliens 100% exist. The deception to you is sort of like what we're watching going on in reality now. They have to do things in small stages, small pieces. They're trying to get you ready for that eventuality that something's coming. So if you watch or read any of these sites, there was a man named Werner von Braun, a Nazi scientist who became the first director of I almost said the first director of Nazis, of NASA. NASA. The big rocket guy. So on his deathbed, he confessed to a woman, and she's just recently come forward. I forgot her name. She's a big scientist. And he told her the last card the government's going to play is going to be an alien invasion of Earth. That's when they play that, that's their last grasp on trying to keep people stupid. And he basically told her, aliens are not hostile. They can't be. Now, that's contrary to everything I'm sure you've ever seen through Hollywood.
War of the Worlds. I mean, come on, man.
Why can they not be hostile? Because you just said it. They're in the 5th and 6th dimension, which is a higher vibration. They would have to lower themselves lower than 3, 4, 2 in order to be violent. They're not. They can't exist here and play here. So when you start hearing all these weird conspiracy theories, you really start thinking, so that's the fear-mongering. Oh, my God, if there's a space alien, they're coming here, they're going to abduct you. They don't do that. They don't cattle mutilate. These are all things to keep you in fear.
Doing the abductions and cattle mutilation.
Who is?
I have a feeling I know where he's going with this.
Who is? It's all part of the fear. The fear. Now, again, I'm not saying I believe any of this. I'm just regurgitating and pooping out what I read, absorb, and you have to be open to these things. But when someone that big is telling you something like that, oh my God. So, as you watch the U-Face and the face tube and all these things out there, and they show you video after video, I've always heard the name J. Oppenheimer. He's the guy with the atomic bomb. He's never knew what he looked like. So one of the videos waiting in queue was when he was addressing people and said, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. And I'm like, oh my God, who the hell is this? This person looks like an alien. It's apparently the effects of lung cancer, and you click on that, which leads you down another hole, and you start reading things. And they said they believe he went crazy at some point because the aliens actually went and told him, your atomic bombs did whatever they did on your planet, but you literally destroyed civilizations in other worlds in different dimensions. You killed off entire galaxies with your experiments. That's why they're here. That's why they're watching. That's around the time they took over the government. Because if you follow that rabbit hole, there really hasn't been a president in control since Eisenhower. And that's what goes right back way when we first started. These people in suits come and tell you what you're going to do. But see, I think we've evolved now to the point where we're not even buying that bull crap. A lot of metaphysicians, I know you follow a lot of paranormal people, you see people putting out there, this is the Great Awakening. It is the Great Awakening. You're starting to get all these little pieces to the puzzle that are starting to get put together. So what time we got? 37.
It's a big clock right there.
It's wrong.
32.
But I feel like we should put.
So
I need you to absorb that because, again, I'm going to wrap this right back into Griffiths. What are we doing with all this? What are we doing? So Rome, New York, it's located in the butthole center of New York State. I mean, it's an equal distance to wherever you want to go. You want to go up north and ski. You want to go over the falls. You want to go to the city. It's all equal distance. 1940, United States military, they're looking for places to put more air bases. Rome was submitted as a place. Oh, look at this place. This place is the bee's knees. It's got canals. It's got railways. There's no air traffic. They do their tests. They do some other stuff. The community, believe it or not, I mean, Rome, they actually rallied around it. They actually supported a business coming in. But so they ended up buying a farm, literally. It was the Wright family farm, W-R-I-G-H-T. One of the children of the Wright family was Harold Bell Wright, who, let's say a modern-day equivalent would be Stephen King. Although Harold Bell Wright wrote religious family stuff, but every book he put out became $1 million book instantly. He was that type of author. That he was the first actual author to break $1 million in a book sale at the turn of the last century. So that, in their house, the ancestral house, was the base commander's house, which they just tore down a few years ago.
So how big is the air base?
Oh.
I mean, if you don't know, that's fine. I was just curious.
Don't quote me. It's like 45 square miles.
That's a lot of land.
So, Rich, were you ever on the base when it was a base?
No.
Did you? Were you on there, Kevin?
Yeah, when I was like a little kid.
And that's always been the air of mystery. Today, it's the shortcut to Utica. Back then, you could not go on the base if you weren't military or if you weren't summoned. You didn't go there. And 45 square miles is pretty freaking big.
I have a feeling that you're going to get into this in a bit, but Travis asked above ground or below ground?
Yes, Travis, we're going to get there. Okay. So they start building the base, 1941. Things are going slow. They bomb Pearl Harbor. War Department says, we need these bases done now. Now, it's not a pipe dream. They have to be finished. If you know anything about the central New York winter, the fact that they put up 3 runways and an air base by February in itself stands the test of time. So the first people that were brought in was a group of ladies. The Women's Army Air Force, Air Corps. They called them WAAC, W-A-A-C. They did the guard duty. They did all the military stuff. They were actually in charge of the base. They brought in a contingent of African Americans, the 100th Aviation Squadron. So African Americans and ladies actually held the base. The purpose of the base was aircraft maintenance and storage. So say a B-17 was blowed up or something in England, they would fly it over, they'd fix it up, get it battle ready, right back into the war, and that's what went on there. War ends. They start drawing down the military. Here's where the fun starts. We've already had that point now. They detonated the atomic bomb. That little flash there put us on the map. So now they're watching us. They're watching you right now. Actually, Travis, they're reading your mind.
They're going to come after your honey.
So Rome was known as the Rome Army Air Depot, RAAD. which became Field, RAAF. There existed in 1947 another base that had the name RAAF. Something happened in 1947 at a little base called Roswell. So one of the stories that was passed along to me was that the crash from Roswell was moved up to Rome, and the wreckage of a B-17 was moved down there. And at some point, nobody really knows when Rome became part of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So although they were doing the aircraft maintenance, storage, part of the base was now assigned to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base doing research. So they didn't want to be directly involved in these cases. That's why it's believed a lot of these lower level things were sent to Rome to be, what's the word here? Reverse engineered. So that was the beginning of the Rome Air Research Development Center, RADC, which became Rome Lab, which is now the Air Force Research Lab. It's never not been under the auspices of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. You Google it, goggle it, whatever you want to do. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Actually, I believe Ghost Hunters were there in like season 1. They went to the special hangar, maybe season 2. The Air Force let them do an investigation. Weird stuff there. Weird stuff. So now we get to 1948. I'm trying to think here. So late 47, 48. The Air Force became a separate branch from the Army. So Rome was actually going to be called Carswell Air Force Base. And the base that was in Texas that was named Griffiths Airfield was going to be called Griffiths Air Force Base. But if you love the military and how it works, they sent the wrong signs to Griffiths. They sent the Carswell Air Force Base signs to Griffiths, and they sent all the Griffiths stuff up to Rome. So then they're thinking, well, you know, it makes sense. Townsend Griffiths was the first airman killed in World War II, and he was from Buffalo, New York. They're in Rome, New York. They're a puke poop away. Let's just leave the Griffiths crap up there. And holy crap, the Carswell kid's from Texas. Let's just leave it in Texas. It's a win. So that's where the name Griffiths came in. Total accident. Now, Townsend Griffiths actually is another conspiracy theory. You want to read about him. He was shot down and killed on purpose because he sort of had something to do with the revolution in Spain in the 30s. He may not have been. Whatever. Look that one up yourself. I can't lead. Like I tell these guys all the time, I can lead you to the water. I can't make you drink. So they continued doing the storage research. Then they started bringing in what they called air defense at that point. So they brought a fighter squadron in. This was to keep everybody safe. Then in 1959, they brought in the B-52s. And pretty much that's what the base did. It participated in Vietnam. It participated in keeping us safe. And then in 1995, they closed the base, but they kept the Air Force Research Lab. Boom. That's all that's there. Now it's the shortcut to Utica. So what went on that base? So there's something in the news now called DUMBS. D-U-M-B-S. You hearing this, Travis? You paying attention? DUMBS. Deep Underground Military Bases. Griffiths is believed to be one. And somewhere in that presentation deck there, Kevin, there's a picture of it looks like an empty chamber underground. Someone posted that on Topics years ago and said that was like the 14-story complex that's under Griffiths. I noticed it was pulled off Topics very fast. So if someone shows up here before we get off the air, I don't really know what that looked like. Excuse me.
That looks like a parking garage.
For what? UFOs?
I don't know if you can park a UFO in between those pillars.
So this is the true story of a story. When writing the book, this guy told me he worked for a certain company, and he confirmed that there's something underground. The words joint CIA/alien base may or may not have been used in that conversation. Which, you know, I've said it even on the show. We joke, don't go to Walmart on Thursday nights. I'm sure that's when they go shopping, but deep underground military base. And I'm like, how could this exist? No offense. I love you, Rome, New York. I love my peoples. And this is what I said to the guy. Telegraph, telephone, tell in Italian. If you relied on the locals to dig that tunnel, everybody around here would know there's a 50-story complex underground.
Sure.
Vicky commented and asked, is that in any connection to the Newport Hill area?
We don't know. So he said the tunnel is vast, which goes, there's one branch of it. It's all pneumatic cars, air tubes, it's all air technology. It's like, how are these things made? He said, well, you have to drill in. You find a cavern. They set off a tactical nuclear weapon underground to make a cavern. And then they use a Tesla sled, which basically turns rock into molten liquid, which creates a glass. And they make these tunnels. Maybe you want to show the warning screen again. There's one that goes to Montauk. Follow. The USS Eldridge, one of those where all the people were just fine, and next thing they know they're pooping and they're part of the toilet and they can't move and whatever happened there. Another part of it goes to where this place in New York is that he worked at. And then there was another system that went deeper that would connect to longer spans. So this was told to me, I wrote the book about 2006. This was told to me in 2006. Now all of a sudden, what's going on in the world today, people are talking about these dumbs, and it's like, okay, this guy told me that
2006.
Almost 14, 15 years ago.
Right.
They're talking about it today, so this isn't new, but they're talking about it a lot more now than they were doing then. So there's one piece of that. There was a sergeant who came up to me and said, oh, he's like, I wish we knew where the hell it was. He's like, 1976, bicentennial, we scrambled the fighters, we shot a UFO down. A piece of it was on the colonel's desk. God damn thing used to glow in the dark. I'm like, so I heard a lot of stories like that. But you have to start thinking. So there's another parallel story, nothing to do with Griffiths, but you may have heard of Dulce Air Force Base, DOLCE. That was also confirmed to be a joint CIA alien base, where at one point the aliens tried to storm the base, and there was a firefight, and only one guy lived, and he went out there and told his story, and he said, if I end up dead... And he ended up dead. Again, little piece. Wright Patterson, Griffiths. I'm the one who's behind that little thing that was all over the FaceTube a few months ago when they posted, was Werner von Braun at Griffiths Air Force Base? And I said, yes. Because other people had told me the person's now deceased, who had a very intimate relationship with Griffiths, because he was there when it was created as Rome Army Air Depot. Yes, he was here. Rome was also considered the site for the Air Force Academy. And it was thought of in a serious manner because, well, we have West Point downstate. It would make sense to put the Air Academy up there. So Werner von Braun, the Nazi missile guy. And people were going crazy on Facebook. I don't know if you guys were following that. It was on one of the radio station pages. And people were getting pissed. And people were like, I worked there for 45 years, and I was there when he would have been there, and I never seen him. Why would you? I don't mean that to insult you. Why do you think you would have met him? If you had nothing to do with the projects he was working on, Why would you be there? Griffiths Air Force Base, 1960. A satellite was launched, Echo 1. The first message sent to outer space bounced off of Echo 1, landed in Floyd, and was transferred to Rome Lab. That was the first interstellar communication, came out of Griffiths. They created something called SAGE, Semi-Automated Ground Environment. That's your modern radar. That was developed out of Rome. The compact disc came out of Rome. The same person who told me about the tunnel also said they're about 190 to 215 years in advance with technology. And think about this in your lifetime, how we went from Betamax to Laserdisc to VHS to DVD to the cloud. Instantly. Like, they had just enough time to make a lot of money. And here you are, the final product. They had the cloud in the 50s. They've had all this technology from the 50s. It's just slowly, because
So
you're evolving
say-
into it now.
Okay, so you're saying that these technologies already exist, and they're just kind of like releasing a little piece at a time to keep us moving in the right direction.
Do you really think we went to the moon on a transistor?
To moon on a transistor.
Transistor radios and tubes and vacuums? No. See, that's another story I could never buy. You want more proof? Look at some of the astronauts. As soon as Neil Armstrong was on the moon, he's doing his thing. Oh, Santa Claus is real. Switch channel to a secure thing. He saw the aliens. We kept going to the moon. We kept going to the moon. Well, we can't go there anymore because we don't have money. That's never stopped our government. They said we were
make money.
told never to go there again. That makes sense.
So we have
Why did we
another
just stop?
comment here from Jason. He actually noted before that he's a Freemason. He said, "What about the chair at Griffiths?"
The Montauk chair. So I guess that's oh God, what was the TV show? Stargate. That's what that technology is believed, that you can sit in the chair in Griffiths. They can teleport you to Montauk.
Then why would you need the tunnels?
That's what I say. You hear these things. Where the hell do they originate from? There has to be some little minuscule piece of work that. I get it. They're under pretense of death when you start talking about this stuff. People who have that level of clearance. And that's where the conspiracy thing. Oh, he's just nuts. Pete's nuts. Well, we know I'm nuts, but. And I think that's why there's certain people in these fields, they allow them to talk. I think Carl Sagan was one of them. I do believe Neil deGrasse Tyson's one of them. They're people, they're allowed to say stuff, but they're not allowed to say the right stuff, if that makes sense. I probably just got myself in big trouble with that. But.
Okay. What about
Like Stanton Frieden, we won't really go after you and you won't die in your garage as long as you stay here. This is your red line. You
Okay.
cross the red line,
Okay.
your wife's going to find you, kind of thing. I mean,
So, question for you. So, going way back when I was younger, there was an actual UFO case that happened in the thriving metropolis of Walesville, which is a Four Corners. I owned a house that was literally half a mile from that location.
Okay.
And so, give us some insight on that.
so the Walesville incident of 1954 is very famous. I have a hard time with this one. See, this is actual research, people. I'm over here trying to convince you about aliens, and I'm about to debunk this one. So Kevin's got pictures. So before we get into that,
Okay.
so they hired a couple guys, Dr. J. Allen Hynek and Dr. Jockey Valet. They're both doctors, Dr. Hynek and Valet.
There's a
That's
lot
all
of
you need to know.
syllables in that
They
name.
hired some doctors.
So they started something called this Project
Stop
Blue
playing
Book.
with your mic.
They called this thing Project Blue Book
Italians,
to
Italians.
study all this UFO crap. All these sightings were coming in. So these two guys, they developed a couple of different systems, how to organize this stuff. Why were Dr. Hynek and Dr. Valet at Griffiths a lot. So when they declassified all of the Blue Book stuff a few years ago, we went in and we pulled the stuff. And all of a sudden, this stuff is no longer in the archives. So we have the pictures because we learned how to right-click and save. So the Walesville incident remained one of the unexplained ones. And the actual documents actually bear the signatures of Dr. Hynek. So why was someone that high up looking at what went on? So we're going to show you the aerial view and all this stuff. We got pictures if Kevin can get it up. Like Rich said, this is the thriving metropolis of a Four Corners area that's on a little stream.
Yeah, man. It's a nice little area.
So
Nice little Four Corners.
call comes in. They're like, we're seeing silver metallic objects in the sky. It's tracking one of the Mohawk airline planes over the Utica County Airport. All right, call goes out to Griffiths. There were 2 fighter planes that were up over Niagara Falls on a training mission. Boom, they hightail it back because that was their job, air defense. It took them a few minutes to get there. They radioed in, they saw the object. The cockpit got very hot. The plane started on fire. The pilot ejected into a station wagon and killed a family. The other plane exploded in the air. The guy ejected out, went into a house, burned the house, and killed another few people. So civilians on the ground were killed with this, and I think that's what drew all this attention to it. Here's the thing. They debunked it as a weather balloon. The silver thing was a water balloon. Was it? I don't know. I can tell you one thing. The airplane they were using was an F-94. It was the worst fighter plane ever made in the U.S. history. I think every one of them crashed. Something happened to every one of them. That's a Griffiths. They laid them thing down everywhere. It was just a horrible plane. It was a transition plane from the F-92 into the F-102 just to get you through to modern technology. Horrible plane. So when they're like, oh, they used some kind of laser beam and they shot the plane down. If you look at other crashes, that's actually a common thing. Where they had that thing, and I guess what would the term be, full throttle, did something where it superheated the fuel tanks and it just went.
Yeah, makes sense.
So there's a rational answer with an unfortunate ending. And we got the wreckage, a few photos of the wreckage. They studied this stuff. But that's a cover because later that day, the Utica County Sheriff's Department fielded over 300 phone calls about silver objects flying over Utica, which went uninvestigated. So was it was it the weather balloon they were seeing? Or was it?
But a weather balloon
what was going
travels
on?
at that kind of speed all over the place? I thought they just kind of float.
Like I said, I present you there with the yes and the no. I mean, I can see where the plane just malfunctioned because it just was a crap plane. Mm-hmm. I don't think they shot ray beams at it.
Well, why would they dispatch jets out of, like, Niagara Falls area?
You have the pictures of the Walesville one where they're...
They had no jets right in Rome, which is literally 10 miles away.
Mm-hmm. So there's there's the Blue Book photo.
Okay.
There's today's view of it.
Yeah, I know that area well.
And that's really it, folks. That's... But again, why can you not get this information now in the declassified folder? So now something that is explainable, you put me right back in the category. Now, why are you hiding it? So did something really happen there that begs to call research? There is actually a gentleman in Florida working on that. There should be a book coming out very soon just on the Walesville incident.
Really?
Well, I mean,
So he's a lot more involved because he actually went and interviewed the people that were there, the remaining family members. And
I mean, not for nothing, but I mean, if it was a weather balloon and you killed, 4 or 5 people, you'd probably want some more answers than what was given.
But people never really pushed the envelope back then. It was just... So we mentioned Project Blue Book. So Lieutenant Hector Quintanilla, I think I got a picture of him there. This is one even I didn't know. I was doing some research a few years ago. He shows up in Wikipedia that he was stationed at Griffiths Air Force Base. But he wasn't assigned to anything. Well, why was the guy who's in charge of Project Blue Book be at the base? And he's working with Dr. Hynek and Dr. Valet. There's Dr. Jacuzzi and Dr. Hynek there. I guess they used to fight a lot. They don't like each other, but... So you have all these people, and now you have Werner von Braun showing up. So it's like, what the hell is going on that we don't know about? And that's why I was getting a chuckle. People were getting upset on the radio there. They're like, I don't know. I didn't see these people. Because you weren't in the black projects. There's no reason for you to know. So maybe there isn't a 14-story underground base. The technology at the time, the Cold War, all this stuff is going on. You have all this technology coming out. You have everything. It all just fits the history of the time they lived through. So, trying to think of a couple other pieces that went on at the base. I mean, it wasn't just one little thing.
I think back then...
Or if you guys got questions, throw them out. I mean, people got a question out there.
I think back then, there was a lot of distrust of the government. You know, the government's hiding things. You know, there was war. There was a lot of questions going on. There were a lot of, I'm going to use the term, conspiracies going on. And then... for some reason, we came to a peace for a while. You know, it wasn't a big thing. You know, the 80s, you know, the 90s. Now we're all kind of headed back in that direction again. You know, it's like a cyclical process. Now we're all back now because of recent politics and in the previous administration, the new administration. So now in COVID, now we have a whole gamut of different theories that are out there about different things. And it's just... a lot of people find these very, very interesting. But, I mean, it exists not only we're still talking about the whole thing with UFOs, but now we're talking about the things with COVID, conspiracies there. We're talking about political conspiracies, administrations. I've never seen, at least in my lifetime, so many conspiracies being thrown around. And I think one of the reasons is maybe there were that many to begin with, but now with social media and all that stuff being so prevalent, with so many like platforms out there that people can go and look at stuff like TikTok and Discord and beyond Facebook and all that. Yeah, I mean, people are just basically seeing more and more of it, and we're hearing more and more of it. You know?
Can't hide it anymore.
Way back then, it was, you know, they had books, but it was like you go walk into the library looking for a book on aliens.
Right.
Science fiction in the very back in the dark room area. Now it's, you know, 3 seconds and you have everything at your fingertips.
And Kevin brings up a good point. There were all these conspiracies there, but these were guys that would basically go off and write a book about it, you know, do some radio shows on AM radio and talk about it, and people who were in that realm looking for that stuff would find it and tell other people. That's how I would find out about things. Now I can pick up the phone and talk to pretty much anyone, and somebody will give me a handful of different conspiracies that, you know, that vary from whatever we're being told mainstream. So it just amazes me how it's like we've been awakened. You know, it's like we have the knowledge that we didn't have before, thanks to technology and thanks to people trying to open platforms up so we can communicate and we can hear this kind of stuff. So, you know, and is some of it hogwash? Of course it is. You know, of course it is, you know, but is some of it truth? I don't know. There's a good, strong possibility, man.
So if you indulge me 3 minutes, let me close this out because this is the other part of this. If you could find the picture of the patch of the 1st Communication Squadron.
Oh, my God. Hold on.
Okay. So the base closed in 1995. They were ordered to get rid of everything. And I know this because the base historian told me he wished he knew me because I could have had 14 roll-off dumpsters full of stuff. They were ordered to throw everything out. So all of a sudden, a book appears out there. It's called The Griffiths Connection, UFO, The Griffiths Connection. The author claims that he found the black files in the dumpster, and he published them. He wrote what the cards were. They were part of the 22nd Special Investigations Division out of West Point. They secretly operated at Griffiths as a small group of them in the 1st Communications Squadron. They were known as the Boys. These were the ones that went there and would investigate the stories. Look at what's on their patch. And as our buddy Stanton would say, they hide it right in front of your face.
What are we looking at, Pete?
It's a space alien with a monkey wrench, with lightning coming out of his ass, and I don't know what the other stuff is. But
Why do you say it's a space alien?
you got the other patch, the bigger one? It's probably a better design. Look a little
Oh, okay,
easier
yeah,
to
I
see
see it
now.
now. Yeah, okay.
And the weird thing about this patch is this was before Velcro, so it had those little buttons that they had on women's clothing, so they could take the patch off and put it on. So when they would get called in, they would put their patch on and go investigate these cases. I won't spoil the book on you. Many references to Hatchet. Hatchet is the reference of Area 54. Or is it 51? We don't know about 54 yet.
Car
Wait,
54
wait,
what?
we do the episode on Area 54. But- and they'll tell you, the boys would come out and they would do everything they could to convince you, well, you really don't want to file this report, do you? You're a major, you got 20 years in. You don't really want us to tell the base commander you were drunk on duty, even though the person wasn't drunk on duty. So this is the level of, and then they would recant their stories and say, yeah, I must have been tired. I didn't hit a space alien with my car. It must have been a deer. Which was one of the stories in there. And it's like, well, we wish they all could be like her.
But we do have another comment.
I just wanted to point that out. But
We're going to be able to get into it. Jason was asking, can you talk a little bit about the chair a little more? He said he researched, only found one article with not a lot of meat to it.
I will do research for you. I'll get back to you on that one. That one I promise. I got to consult Vinny with that because Vinny's the original person who gave me the info to them. Vinny P.
Vinny
Well,
P.
I mean, we've got a lot of stuff here that we...
And there's
Gonna
more
have
I
time
can
to
get
cover.
into, but that's
we-
the nuts and
We can
bolts.
obviously work on another episode.
Yeah,
and
we'll have to do a episode part 2 for this. But
could
Maybe bring in a couple ufologists, a couple.
well, for our audience who streams our show and watches it, hit us up on Agent Paranormal on Facebook and tell us if you want to hear more content like this.
Or if you've seen aliens at Griffiths, please call us.
Or that too. So Pete will dig deep for you, and he will find information, and we can talk about it on the show because, remember, the paranormal isn't always just ghosts or things that go bump in the night. The paranormal is the unexplained. It's not the normal. And as paranormal investigators, we investigate things that are not normal. And that doesn't necessarily, again, mean ghosts. But, again, if you want see more content like this, go to Agent Paranormal on Facebook and let us know. We're always looking for good stories and content to talk about. We want to give the viewing audience the stories and discuss the subjects that they want to hear. So, with that being said, we're coming close to our end, Pete.
Can I leave them with a
Go
cliffhanger?
ahead,
And I'm
man.
going to just shut up after this. Because I wanted to get this in because of the September 11th. Horrible tragedy. Look up Griffiths Conspiracy 9/11. One airplane transponder disappeared at Amsterdam. One of the towers was an EC3A. Guess where they had EC3As? Look that one up. I'm not going to say any more about that one, and I hope that's very untrue.
I don't think I'm going to go there, but yes.
But I'm just saying,
Heard it.
that's the plentitude of stuff that's out there. I mean, tinfoil hat or not, this is stuff people are pumping out there. It makes for a fun night when you're in the bathroom, but I'm Pete Leonard.
He's Pete
No,
Leonard.
I'm not, actually. I'm John Rodriguez.
So if you have any issues with anything on this episode, please consult with John Rodriguez here.
See?
We're just innocent Kevin and I are just innocent bystanders
Okay.
looking for entertainment news. So,
Mi amo es
so with that being said, that concludes our episode. And I want to thank our viewers for hanging in with us tonight. I know football started. Yes. And there's a lot of games going on, but thank you for tuning in. And what's great about our show is if you can't watch it tonight because you're watching some football, you can stream it anytime on Disruption Network. So check out Disruption Network, like them on Facebook, And we'll be coming back at you in about another 2 to 3 weeks with another interesting subject.
I might not. They might be waiting outside with a bag for me, but
We might not be back. It might have a whole new cast.
Well,
someone here who looks like Juan.
I'm pretty sure I'll be back. These two I'm not sure about, man. So, but anyways, thank you for joining us tonight. Have a wonderful night, and we'll be coming at you soon. Once again, take care. Peace.